So I welcome everyone. My name is Monica. I think all of us are aware. Most of us are joining. Know we know each other already. So just sharing a bit about today's session. All of us have a taste of ego. There is no one here who does not have a taste of what ego is. Yeah, we may not psychologically know it completely. We may not have an in-depth understanding of what ego is, but apart from that, we see ego function in day-to-day life. The trying to defend ourselves, the trying to explain ourselves, all the movements of anger, uh, being victimized, blames, hate, jealousy, desires, ambitions. So all these are movements of ego, and I'm sure all of us have a taste of that. Now, it is not to say that there is anything wrong per se with those movements, because if they were wrong in their very essence, why would they exist, right? So masters have said ego is the helper, ego is the bar. Yeah, so as if ego is a ladder to bring me up to a certain point, and once I have reached that point, then the ladder has to be dropped. If for example I have to go to a terrace, and on the terrace I have some work. Now the ladder may be it may be necessary for me to carry the ladder until the point of the terrace. Once I am at the terrace and I have to do the other work, I do not need to take the ladder along with me on the terrace, right? So this was an invitation for all those of us who feel in their life that enough of the games of the ego, enough of trying to protect, defend, always trying to self preserve ourselves. Can I call for a real life? Is that a possibility? Is there something more? Because there must be something more. If there was not something more, then I would be very content and happy and very satisfied in the life that I am living. But all of us know that we have an itch for something beautiful. We have an itch for something greater. We have an itch for something higher in life. Yeah, we want to refine our life. We want to purify our lives more and more. This there is an itch for progress in us. And that tells me that the game is not over yet. Yeah, that there is something higher to come, something more purified version of me is to come. That was the invitation that the session was formed of. It more like a something coming from my own experiences, that can I find something in me which is beautiful to start with, which I recognize that yes, there is a capacity of me to move towards something beautiful. And can I begin from those baby steps rather than getting entangled in the dirty games of the ego, which we have played enough, and we get entangled again, we get hurt again, we get wounded again. There is no end to those woundings and bleedings if we remain in that dirty game. But once we say that yes, I have tasted enough all those experiences, now can I start afresh? Can I have a new kind of a life? So the session today would be based mostly on the words of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. All of us are aware. I keep on introducing or keep on throwing these words from time to time in middle of us for reflection. So first we will go about the ego. What is the necessity of the ego, and then we will also try to see what more is possible. Only surface movements, only staying in surface consciousness, is that my truth, or something beyond, something deeper than that is possible for me? That is what we'll be discussing today. And then whenever you have any question, any reflection, you can either type it in the chat window, share, or you can unmute and share whenever a question arises. Yeah, so to start with a couple of lines from Mahopnishad. To dwell in our true being is liberation. And when we talk of liberation, is not some faraway concept that we are talking of. We feel suffocated, There are times when we feel overwhelmed and suffocated in our thoughts and emotions. So it is just talking about liberation from that bondage that we create for ourselves. The bondage of thoughts, the bondage of images, the bondage of future plans, the bondage of emotions, all these self-created images. It's liberation from that. To dwell in our true being is liberation. The sense of ego is a fall from the truth of our being. And that is why staying within the bounds of ego, one can never be free. One can never be free. And those of us who have a taste of freedom, I'm sure all of us have tasted moments when there was nothing caging us. Those were the moments when the ego did not exist. It dissolved for a moment. The wave of the ocean crashed back in the ocean for a moment. And when the wave surges up again, and overwhelms our thoughts and emotions, then we feel again trapped and suffocated in emotions and thoughts. Again, the game of ego has started. Yeah. So to dwell in our true being is liberation. The sense of ego is a fall from the truth of our being. Now, there is a purpose to that fall. There were lessons to be learned. There are lessons to be learned. But once I see that the purpose is served, there is a possibility of a newer life. That is what Sri Aurobindo and Mother have talked in their, the life that they talk about, the life divine, for example. Sri Aurobindo has written this thick book on life divine. Is that a possibility for us? How long will I keep on continue being thrown in the drain of, conflicting emotions and tangled relationships? How long? How long? Yeah. And then it is also important to experience the surface consciousness, all the movements of anger, pride, vanity, jealousy, hate, just name it. We know them, we have been through all those movements. So all this happens on the surface consciousness. This forms the ego, me and my story. And then there is a deeper immobile part to all the surface movements of life. Now to explain this, I have got this little thread and beads. I hope you all can see this. So there is this thread that is there, and then there are beads that are there. Yeah. So the thread is holding the beads. Yeah, the thread is holding the beads. Or you can say that if the thread is not there, the whole continuity of experience would not be there. The continuity that it makes a necklace, right? So each bead is a passing movement of my life. Each bead is a passing movement of my life. A thought, an emotion, anger, grief, jealousy, just name it. Those are all beads on this thread. And the thread is the awareness which knows the movement. I know that I am angry. Yeah. I know that I am sad. I know that I am happy. I know that I am in grief. So this knowing, this awareness of each and every movement of life, this is something which does not change. See, this is just continuous. I may have fallen deeply into a drench of depression, but I am aware that depression is there. So this awareness never goes away. This awareness is part of our deeper being. It's what we call as the immutable self, that which never changes. This awareness even is there when we are asleep, because who knows that I am asleep? One can say that it's from memory that I recollect, but there is a part of me that is aware, which notices the movement of sleep. So this awareness, and again coming from words of Mother and Sri Aurobindo, those of us who are interested, go deeper into the literature and search for yourself. This awareness never goes away. I may be angry at one moment, I may be happy in one moment, but I am aware that I am angry, I am aware that I am happy. So I am aware does not go away. Now, how I go deeper into my being, how I begin to live a deeper life. Whenever there is an angry movement in me, I'm just taking an example of anger. There are two possibilities. One possibility is that I am totally swayed by anger, that I become angry consciousness. That is one possibility. The other possibility is that there is a bit of detachment for anger, from anger. So I am able to see that I am angry. So I am able to see that I am angry. Yeah. I'm not completely detached from it, because the anger, I feel it in my being and I want to hit someone or maybe want to curse someone. So that entanglement is still there. But a partial detachment is there where I am able to see that I am angry. Now, what happens when I step back here? The moment I step back and I'm able to see the movement of anger going on very rapidly in me, I am able to touch a deeper reality in me. Yeah, that I am aware I am angry. Now, this gives me a bit of control over my anger, that I can stop. I can say to the other person, okay, give me some time. I want to sit by myself 30 minutes. Please do not disturb. So that you are able to take a better action otherwise than what you could have taken when you have been boiling with anger and swayed by anger and done something in anger. So when we get in touch with this deeper aware being in us, the witness self in us, which is forever aware, we only have to do is we have to step back. We have to step back. We have to pause maybe a little. I see that from this space of being aware of the angry movement, I become aware of the action of ego. This is the ego. When I'm here, when I'm able to see that I was angry, I became angry, as if a larger picture opens up for in front of me, and it tells me why I became angry at the very first place. Because the past connected, or the future connected, because the relationship was going here and there. So a larger picture comes, and the whole game of ego opens up in front of me, who is aware, who is ready to listen. So this is how I get a bit dissociated from the ego self, the surface self, which is full of anger, because the story has been threatened, or you did something to me in past and now I'm doing it to you in present, and I cannot take it. Yeah. So all that is not available as a very limited picture in when I am here as a separate awareness, being aware of the anger. And why am I willing to do that? Because I have played the angry games enough, because I have seen that anger hurts me, it hurts the other person, and whenever I take a step in anger, it always lands us up in more and more entanglement. So this is how you step back and get in touch with that self of yours, which is forever present, and that is your higher possibility. Yeah, this is something beyond the ego. This is not swayed by the ego. This can see the games of the ego, and hence can also control the actions of the outer self. Yeah. So this is how we step back and get identified more with the example that I was sharing, like these beads. So I get more identified with the thread, which sees all the movements coming and going. The thread, earlier I was this angry person, the bead. Earlier I was this angry person, the loss, the sadness, the guilt. All these movements, the upper movements are the beats. But when I say I am aware that the sadness is there, I am aware that the anger is there, then I get a little power in my being back. Then I am not the anger. I have the capacity to regulate the anger, control the anger, master the movement of anger, and not to be swayed by it. And this is only for those of us who are willing to make this effort. It's not without effort that this identification with the deeper self happens. Now, whenever in the next moment of my life, somebody insults me, for example, instead of immediately slapping the other person through words or anything, can I just be aware that I am aware of the words? I am aware of the insult. And I do not want to take any action from the insult, from the wound. I want to step back, I want to slow down, and from there, I would take any action. So, this is how we go a bit beyond the ego and not acting as a slave of the ego. Yeah. And the beautiful example that is there in front of us is that whenever these movements are there in our being, anger, grief, loss, hate, blame, consider any movement, there is a lot of happening in the body. The body burns. You get a headache when you are overthinking or emotionally too down. You get a sudden movement in the sensation in the body. So the body also tells you that the path is not right. The body, whenever the body is burning in anger, the body is having a headache with anger, blame, hate, just name it, anything, feeling ashamed, guilt, depression, despair. So all these movements are very strongly felt in the body. If you have felt that, there is a reason for that, because as if there is an enemy living in myself, in the body, and it is living my life and taking the charge of my life. And that enemy, why I'm calling that enemy, because the game is over, the game of ego is over. Yeah. Now I am ready to move ahead. So when I am burning in anger, the body tells me that if I follow the dictate of anger, I am not being myself. It is not my true self that is acting out of anger. Why? Because I feel the burning in the body. So that burning in the body, that constriction in the heart, or migraine, or say the lower tummy, feeling of constriction in the lower tummy, all these movements tell me that I am not following my truth. I am following the dictates of ego. Can I begin to listen to those movements and stop acting when those movements are present? So when I have calmed down, when I have completely settled down in my being, only then take any action or anything that is to be done in the outer surface. Why? Because that angry self, that burning self, is not my truth. I am not ego. And whatever actions I will take from the ego, they will always land up me in more and more confusion, more and more entanglement, more and more wounding and deep, bleeding. If we keep on hurting each other very badly when we act out of ego. Yeah. So can I again and again step back, take a dip in the holy Ganges? And what is that dip? The dip is, as I was sharing earlier to you, this is the dip. To identify myself as the one who is aware. I am aware, I am aware. I am aware of the anger, I am aware of the loss, I am aware of the hate, of the blame, of the insult, of whatever. So whenever I step back and take a dip in this, I am aware, whatever action I will be doing will be for the betterment of the other person and also for me. Because it will not be coming from the dictates of the ego. Yeah. So this is how I begin to touch a newer kind of a life. And I'm sure many of us may be experimenting with this at this moment. It is not anything new that I am sharing here today in this session. But the thing is that we have to just make it more concrete for us in life. That out of now 100 movements in my life, in at least 10 of them, I am available to identify myself as the one who is aware. I am aware. Who am I? I am not the anger. I am aware. And hence, I am not going to take any action through the anger, because that hurts us. It's not my truth. And you must have seen, people, when we become angry, at least I have seen for myself, when I'm angry or in blame or shame, I see that I'm not myself. I'm not myself. And whatever words I say in that orientation, if I'm angry or feeling victimized, I later would repent on those words, that why would I say that? That was not my truth. Why would I say those words to other person? So we are not truly ourselves when we are overwhelmed with these deep, intense emotions. Yeah. So that was the first, the how I wanted to start with taking a step back from the ego. And this is only beginning. There is so much to this self discovery that a lifetime is not enough uh, to touch the beauty of it. So I would just ask if there are any questions at this point, which we can take, else we can go forward. Yeah.
Hi, Monica.
Yes, Saurabh.
Yeah, not like a question, but again, if we can take one more like a practical example. For example, let's imagine a situation. There are two people, one being me and one other person. We are debating on some topic, and I can feel other person is trying to bully me by trying to kind of no object whatever I'm saying. The person is trying to say no, that is wrong, and I can feel the feelings of ego, like okay, how can somebody trying to in the battle of the speeches is trying to bully me, and I'm feeling defeated. So inside me, even the person is maybe saying the truth, I still don't want to accept that. That could be one thing. Other person can also be saying wrong, but he's also doing the same thing. He don't want to take a back step. He also wants to show that he's the one who knows better. So when applying this feeling of I'm being the observer of my feeling of ego, how the pain goes down. I mean, with practice, of course. Maybe do we need to do more steps, or only just observing that I'm feeling ego is good enough for the time being, and as we subsequently move to the next step?
So just imagine, for example, Saurabh, that this is happening right now.
Hmm,
So you are talking to me, and
right.
I am just objecting at everything that you are saying. I'm just again and again hitting back at you.
Hmm,
Yeah. And you can see that there is a constriction in your heart. You are not feeling nice about it.
hmm.
Yeah. Maybe you don't want to follow the further discussion because
Right.
it does not appear to be a right way. Yeah.
Correct.
So what is the action you would take in order to get a kind of a mental peace and stability, and not to be thrown in the entanglement of feeling constricted and not really nice? What is the step that comes to you naturally that you would like to take?
National one thing is nowadays, which is keep coming more often, is accept every moment like it has been given to you by a god as a gift. So if somebody is trying to uh, show something not so good about feelings, accept it like it must be for your betterment. Maybe somebody is trying to show you you are at level 1 in the ego field. He's helping me to go to the next level. So accept that. Try to again like try to accept that feeling of somebody is disrespecting you. If you could do that, of course, that's how you will go to the level 2. But this feeling now is coming because this is a satsang, but in general we don't get those feelings. In those feelings you try to defend yourself. Now, how can somebody talk to me like that?
Yeah.
We're not aware of those feelings in those days, those discussions.
So here also, there is one little example that I will use here, how to listen to our inner voice in that
Hmm.
particular, because the situation that you are telling me, uh, it can be different for different people. The same
Right.
situation, apply it to 100 individuals, the answers will be different.
True.
So the thing is that, can I listen to my inner guidance in that moment? Huh?
Good point.
How to listen to the inner guidance? Yeah.
Right.
So let us go and touch that aspect. Imagine that, for example, I have to uh, okay, I will share a kid story here, which is exactly hitting at this point as
Hmm.
I feel. So there is a person, there is a fellow who goes to take an ice cream, and he asks mom that, mom, mere ko aaj 20 rupees dena, because I have to take the 20 rupees ice cream, which is a chocolate one. Okay. So instead of 10 rupees, mom gives him 20 rupees, so that he can, instead of a ice lolly, he can buy a chocolate bar or whatever. Now he's standing uh, at the stall, and he sees that there is a little fellow there, and that little fellow is very in dilapidated condition, and he's also wanting an ice cream. He does not have the money. Now this person, this little child who went to buy a 20 rupees ice cream, sees that little child, and a voice comes in his being that he would not feel nice if he has the ice cream while that other person stares at him.
Hmm.
Something would be amiss. He decides that, okay, instead of the 20 rupee ice cream, let me have the 10 rupee one, which I usually have, and let me share one ice cream with the other fellow. Okay. The moment he decides this, there is an expansion that he feels inside.
Hmm.
While there would be a constriction and a continued guilt that he would feel when he would have gone and taken the 20 rupees ice cream while the other child looks at him, and he would have thought that, kash maine kuch kar diya hota, some kind of regret, or maybe wanting to do something better. Now this is how we listen to the inner voice. Yeah, this is
Okay.
a kid story written by a famous author that I am sharing with you, again connected with Mother and Sri Aurobindo's teachings only, how to listen to the inner voice.
Hmm.
The inner voice always makes you feel expanded once you follow it. It gives you lasting peace. While the voice of the ego, if you follow it, it actually makes you more disturbed in the head.
Very true. Yes.
So this is a very little example of how to follow the inner guidance.
Got it. And here the inner voice, what we are doing is to that thread part. Like that thread is the inner voice. And
Exactly. Yeah.
got it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
Yeah,
from that thread
wonderful.
point,
Yeah,
from being aware, you take the best possible decision.
true.
Yeah.
So question comes how to listen to that inner voice
Yeah.
because
How to
signals are
just
very
listen.
small at
You have
times.
to
Yeah.
just be very, very sensitive.
True.
Very sensitive. Because, for example, a person, if he wants to listen to bird chirping
Hmm.
outside, if he really wants to listen to bird chirping, he would not bother. He would switch off the fan, stay with sweat for
Hmm.
some time, and he would make sure that he listens to the birds chirping. So there needs to be a willingness.
Got it. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah. Shweta, you want to share?
Yeah,
Thank you, Saurabh. Yeah.
yeah. So I do get this what you were sharing, Monica, because most of the times, like largely, when you listen to your inner voice, that is where you find the peace, and there's always this inherent guiding voice that guides you, and you feel peaceful. But what I've also realized that there are few ego battles that keep popping up, and so though less than your larger self knows, and you've always been more peaceful compared to your environment and all, because like what to go for, the larger self. But also that I find that the main hindrance to spirituality for me is that I keep going back and forth, because there are like few processings ego processing that needs to be done, that needs a closure. So that is where my fight or confusion is. Like I move forward, then like I'm like largely peaceful, and really I know that's my like inner self and always guiding. But then suddenly something pops up, or like something comes which says no, like, and like well wishes, you have to process this, you can't let go of this. So then you again feel, okay, standing for yourself is also important. So this is where I feel it goes back and forth, and it doesn't allow you to move very smoothly forward. So what would you say about that?
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. I'm glad that you brought that up. So, Shweta, I feel that all of us, excluding none, have these soft spots where we are attached and where we have the ego battles. So, for example, I don't have an ego battle with one person in my life. I see that the relationship is absolutely smooth and I am able to choose my highest possible possibility in every moment whenever I interact with that person. Yeah. But with another person in my life, something happens, something triggers me, and I am not able to choose my highest possibility. So this is where attachment comes into picture. These are the points where I am attached, where my worth, my self-worth is attached to that outer person or outer situation, that if that does not get fixed, I cannot be at peace. If that does not get corrected, I cannot be at peace. While largely I am okay, I'm fine, I'm able to listen to my inner guidance. Most of the time I find myself peaceful. But when that person comes into picture, that does something to me where I burn inside myself. Now this is not an obstacle to spirituality, this is a stepping stone in our journey ahead. This keeps me grounded because it tells me that I am yet not perfect, I am yet very sticky, I'm
Yes.
yet, I do get triggered, I can see. So the journey is still more. Yeah. And these are the points which become even a fuel for wanting me to go even deeper within the being, because I want to find out something in my being
Really, yeah.
where I do not get triggered by that particular thing.
Yeah.
So
But
this
yeah,
pushes
it's
you.
about, I think, yes, yes,
Sorry.
it's at the attachment, very strong attachment that doesn't let you, move forward. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And this is then, don't consider it a obstacle on the path. It is just raw material so that we are pushed deeper and deeper in our being to find something so solid that when we are with that thing, nothing can trigger me.
So, Monica, that I know. Okay, that awareness is also there.
Yeah,
All I want to know is whether to process it, or just let it go, which is not going, but to still move forward, or to go backward and process it and give. I mean, that is where the problem is. So,
yeah.
what to do?
Yeah, again,
Yes or no?
as I was sharing with Saurabh, there would be no particular answer because the situations are different, people involved are different. But one thing is for sure, if you can let it go, if you can let it unresolved and find yourself something even more beautiful to keep yourself absorbed,
Hmm.
do it.
Right.
And if you feel that staying in that unresolved conflict is making you even more miserable, choose your peace uh, above everything else. If you have to move from that physical location, move, because nothing is more important than our mental peace, emotional stability, and a deeper contentment. So if something is overpowering so much on me that it is taking away again and again my peace, it is not worth it. It is not worth it. So
Okay.
slowly I have to let go of the attachment to try to resolve something there. I'm just sharing like one way where it could go. That yes, it is disturbing me. Whenever I think about it, it disturbs me.
Hmm.
I know that I don't want to be there again and again, but yet I find myself again and again owing to some attachment. Yeah. So what is the best I can do? I can try to be as self absorbed as a flower. Mother says, be like a flower. Now, a flower is completely concerned with itself, it is absolutely not concerned with anyone else. And in that, it gives itself beauty. So, that is just one little way that
Very beautiful.
I'm sharing here. There could be several possibilities that could be talked about.
Yeah.
Again, depending on the context to context situation. Sometimes you have to pick up the sword and fight, sometimes you have to throw away the sword and run for your life, and
Yeah.
both are true for different occasions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing and asking. So anything else at this point, anyone? I think one also needs to have a more and more affinity for an inner peace.
True.
Yeah, because when I am really loving the inner peace, when I am wanting to more and more stabilize myself within, then I will lose the affinity for being disturbed. So slowly I feel, I personally, again coming to from my own experiences, I have to, as if I have to change the nature of my mind, which is very happy being disturbed, and now it is more and more happy being calm and peaceful. So the nature of the mind undergoes a change. It does not like sticky affairs now. It does not like disturbing and entangled relationships now. And for that, I am able to let go of all the ego games that I have to let go of. I don't even want to take my stand. Yeah, because I'm falling in love with an inner peace. And that means more to me rather than winning somewhere else. So slowly I feel this also has to be, it's like a cultivation that I have to do, that I have to cultivate an affinity for progress and peaceful progress.
Yeah, that comes naturally. Yeah, but that what you're saying, that comes naturally. But then there are few well-wishers who keep telling you, no, no, you know how you have to take a stand for, like, so you get confused. Okay.
Yeah,
So yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
One can also check whether uh, those are well wishers or not, I don't know. Because many a times it happens that we are just pushed into taking a stand where we actually don't need to do much. you know uh,
Yeah.
and there again and again, you see, all of us face confusions in life. I do, all of us do. Yeah. And I think whenever I have faced my deeper confusions, it has always gotten me to one point, again coming from all experiences, that no person can actually give you a very large uh, view of things, because the person is also limited.
Sure.
Yeah, so no matter how deep a friend of mine he would be, you know a limited person, a limited ego, a limited window. But when we tap into our depth and we make an action out of coming from this, what we were sharing with Saurabh, whether it gives me lasting peace, whether it makes me feel expanded, if I make a decision from that point of view, then I won't regret that decision later. And again, variety of contexts, variety of decisions to be taken, and I understand your challenge completely. uh, Easier said than done. Yeah.
No, no, it is quite possible, and I'm so glad I spoke, because innately, yes, this is the answer which comes so naturally, and I resonate with it. Yeah, thank you. It
Thank you
is
for sharing.
easily done. Yeah, I know that. Thank you.
Yeah, anything more here? Okay, so if not any comment, just come up again if there is anything. Just sharing another few lines from Mother and Sri Aurobindo. The ego is only a provisional individuality. It's not the true individuality. It's a provisional. It gives me a coherence that I can call, okay, this is me. Yeah. So I can tell, okay, this is what I like, this is what I dislike, this is the person I am. So it gives me a provisional, a transitional individuality before I find my true individuality, which Mother and Sri Aurobindo says is unique to each one of us, which they call the psychic individuality, the true individuality, the true person that I am, where I don't need to really keep on protecting and shelling myself. Yeah. So the ego is only a provisional individuality, a device of nature which holds together the action of mind and body until the true individual or the psychic being is discovered. Yeah. True individual, or the natural me, the true me, where I am not coming from trying to protect, defend, hurt others, but coming out of a goodwill and kindness of nature, which for everyone would be different. This individuality is unique to everyone, and that is why when they say that every person is special, this is what we are referring to, the psychic individuality of that person. Yeah, because for example, you know, someone of us here, maybe one of us wants to you know, serve other people and connects very easily with other people, while other person has a very natural inclination to work with beauty or something of art. Yeah, so that person may not be very natural with connecting with other people. So these natural inclinations are what propel us towards our true individuality. Now mother has actually shared many things about how to find the true you, and it's a journey, you know, more like a journey. And let me read a few sentences here from the mother, beautiful few lines, where she says, we should never tell ourselves, I want to be great. What vocation can I find for myself in order to become great? On the contrary, we should tell ourselves, there must be certainly something I can do better than anyone else. And this certainly something is different for everybody. हाँ, जो आप कर सकते हो अच्छे से नेचुरली, वो मैं नहीं कर सकती. जो मैं कर सकती हूँ अच्छे से नेचुरली, वो कोई और नहीं कर सकता. वो जो कुछ और कर सकता है, वो नेचुरली वो कोई और नहीं कर सकता. You know, so these are very natural inclinations present in our being. Since each one of us is a special mode of manifestation of the divine power, however humble or modest it may be, that natural inclination, I will try to find it. I will devote myself to it. I shall observe my tastes, my liking, my tendencies, my preferences, and I shall do it without pride or excessive humility. Whatever others may think, I shall do it just as I breathe. Just as the flower smells sweet, quite simply, quite naturally, because I cannot do it otherwise. So this is what we have to find in ourselves slowly for the flowering or the blossoming of this unique flower that we are. Yeah, that to find in me what comes naturally in me, what is this natural goodness that wants to flower in me. Yeah, and to abstain from all that ugliness which makes me corrupted again and again. So even when we go deeply into mother's words, you know, we talk about aspiration, rejection, and surrender. Aspire for the goodness, aspire for something beautiful. Yes, I'm not beautiful right now, but I aspire for it. I want to be beautiful. Yeah, and then reject all the movements that lead you away from the beauty. Those are movements of ego. Whenever we follow the movements of ego, we are led away from beauty. Yeah, and for that, many a times I have to actually change my relationships. Many a times I have to stop interacting with people who, whenever I connect with, I feel entangled and deeply disturbed. So I have to reject those interactions until I am prepared fully. Yeah, just like a little sapling, you know, you have to build a little fence around a little sapling. Any person can walk over that and the sapling is destroyed. So when I am creating this new life for myself, I have to prepare a fence around me. I have to reject all those indulgence and thoughts wherever I feel disturbed. And we have talked in earlier, you know, the previous Saturday sessions, the power of imagination, the power of thought, where the mother herself says that whenever you feel disturbed by a disturbing thought, immediately transform it. You know, so if, for example, a relationship disturbs me, thoughts about a relationship are entangling me again and again, I feel disturbed. What do I say again? The moment I find that thought coming into me, I say, mother knows the best, mother knows the best, she will guide the way. The divine knows the best, the divine is guiding the way. Because the moment I say this to myself, I feel relaxed. I'm not disturbed anymore. So what am I giving more priority to? I'm not giving more priority to thinking again and again. I am giving more priority to mental peace, emotional stability. Yeah. Now, whatever may happen will happen. I will go through it. But right now, where I could have led negative events into, you know, because whatever we think gets created. So if again and again I am thinking about entangling thoughts, immediately the moment I recognize an entangling thought, I say, Mother knows the best. She is guiding me towards a better path. Try this in your life and see how it gives you immediate peace and takes away all the worries that you may be worrying about regarding a life situation or a relationship. Even job, finding something, in our life, finding money in our life, finding relationships in our life. Immediately, the moment you see the disturbing thought, do not have the affinity for the disturbance. Have affinity for peace and immediately say the divine knows the best. The divine is guiding me towards a better path, towards an empowered path. And see how you change your inner dialogue immediately, with immediate effect. Yeah. And some people may say it bullshit, but I don't care actually, because the people have different philosophies. Because we are always talking in our head. Notice yourself, we are always having an inner dialogue. Depending on the inner dialogue I am having, I will have the life that I have. If I change the inner dialogue, if I give it surrender, I know that there is a deeper intelligence working and I will be guided a way towards finding a resolution in a difficult situation. I will be guided. I will be guided. The moment I say this, I'm changing my inner dialogue. I'm changing the environment of my mental domain, emotional, and the physical domain. So don't say that this does not matter, because it matters. Mental conflicts translate to physical diseases. So it matters. Whatever I am thinking matters to me. Yeah. So if now I develop a affinity towards peaceful inner dialogue, it matters. Yeah. So yes, that's what I wanted to share here. Anything more? I don't know where I was. Anything more here?
Hi, Monica.
Yes,
This is
Jasmine.
Jasmine. Yeah, hi. Um, so far, I think I'm enjoying the session. You covered pretty much everything, and I think I wanted to cover this. I think most of the participants who are here, they are very much willingly here, and they are very much aware of, what you have shared. And somebody mentioned, like, how they try and but फिर बार ego आ जाती है. And obviously, it's a matter of cultivating it, daily practice and all that. But what I wanted to bring is that most of the fight which I have in my personal experience, okay, even with that knowing, with that awareness, and with daily practice, challenge aa jata hai again and again, recognizing it's almost like you have to shed those layers क्योंकि इतनी conditioning हो चुकी है, out of habit you can say. It's like चाहे वो, it's not even, somebody doesn't even have to be there, the voices, outer voices that we have internalized, it's mostly like how you said, that internal dialogue. वो जो हमारा internal dialogue होता है ना, it's not, it's come from outside or from wherever. Usually that fight is between that internal dialogue that's going on always. So even in the situations that now I'm sort of enjoying my experience because I'm in that, I'm established in at that level, not at the greatest level, but at the level where I kind of, I watch it as a show. I can literally witness myself. There is a space, there is a separation. So that gives me that kind of power or that choice to, kind of choose what I want to do and how I want to feel. And now I look at these experience, I invite these experience as a way to kind of strengthen my muscle, So again, it's again constant reminder. But even how you said, it's sometimes it's the natural tendency. I think kaibari, even if you're kind of getting angry or going to that extent, just let it go. Kaibari fighting, it doesn't. Sometimes letting go may, you just have to just go with the flow sort of sometimes. An unnatural, even though awareness is the high road, but sometimes वो naturally नहीं आती. Sometimes you have to kind of let it go. And I think wahan pe it made a little bit of difference, like for me, getting aware of that. And then I think the main thing, ye jo conditioning hai, itni, I mean, I'm amazed, like, certain, ke ek bari lesson learn kar liya, itni bari practice bhi kar liya, fir it's like sneaky, kahan se aa jata hai baitha, oh my God, this again? But I thought I dealt with you, sort of that thing. So, and other thing, I think, ego की side पे we say, you know, it's very easy to see ego as you know, anger and all that, but एक ego के subtle जो है ना, वो जो small बनने की, victim भी नहीं, small बनने की, in so many ways. I think that's what I am exploring now, kind of within me, कि वो कितने ways में आ रहा है, how I act small in so many ways. And I think as we go on this journey, you know, तो it's like और subtle level में आता रहता है, और subtle level में आता रहता है. It's an endless thing, you know. Sometimes there is it's really, there is no destination. I don't know, I think it's a daily practice though, but I don't know any other way now either. Of course, there's no turning back either, but I find it's really, now I just sometimes laugh about it, कि यार, seriously, again ego and again ego. There's no conquering of ego. So I just wanted to kind of know if there is something Mother has said, why ego is there, or like uski, you know, like I said, I feel there's no conquering of ego in that sense, but definitely, like I'm saying, as you establish yourself in awareness, things do shift. I've seen big cheezein jo pehle hoti, and like I love when you said in one of the sessions ke peace pyari hai, ki kya pyari hai, peace se kitna love hai. Literally I come to that ke कितनी पीस प्यारी है, am I ready to trade it off? और जितना मैंने वो प्रैक्टिस किया ना, it's a kind of helping me a lot. And I think वो eventually हम ही सबसे पहले वो पीस को trade off करने में आ जाते हैं. Nothing's worth my peace. But I would like to know, like, if you have anything, or what your views are, कि ego होती क्यों है, या ego, can we conquer ego, or I mean, I'm okay either way, but just wanted to know your view. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that beautifully, Jasmine. So, you know, Kabir, for example, I'll just take a few couplets from Kabir, has said beautiful things on ego. Now, ego, again, and mind go together. Without the mind, the ego cannot exist. He says, मन को मृतक जान के मत कीजिए विश्वास, साधो तब तक भय करे जब तक पिंजर में सांस. So he says that do not fool yourself saying that I have conquered the ego or the mind. Do not fool yourself. मन को मृतक जान के मत कीजिए विश्वास, साधो तब तक भय करे. जो real साधक on this path, who does not have any other option but to travel on this path, he would be as long vigilant as long as he has breath in the body. So there is no conquering the ego, absolutely with you. But at the same time, there is a possibility for a higher life, for a deeper life, which is beyond the grasp of ego, beyond the trap of ego. Yeah. The example that I would use here is, imagine that two people are talking, arguing with each other. They are arguing very, very heavily. They are in an intimate relationship and lots of basad is going on. And immediately there is a fire in the house. Now, the moment they know that there is a fire in the house, would they still be arguing?
No.
They would run for their life.
Yeah.
In that moment, no argument will hold any importance as it was holding importance when everything was all right.
Mm.
So this tells me, puts me in the picture that what is more important, the argument or my life? My life.
Yeah.
But in day-to-day situations, my life does not matter. What matters is the argument.
Yeah.
So this
True.
again has to be put into perspective, that what matters is my own peace, inner stability, and what is true and beautiful that I want to progress towards in my life. The little will always remain. Be sure. You said it beautifully. The little will always remain. But whether I want to focus on the fire and save my life, or do I want to keep engaged in arguments and burn myself down? What do I want to do?
Yeah. And I find, okay, you know, in my own personal thing, it's getting better, but बड़ा hard लगता था यार. कई बार लगता था यार, aware होना, मुझे नहीं aware होना. मुझे तो खत्म मुकाओ चीज and then खत्म करो, you know, because it's almost hard to take the higher road, right? When you have so many people around you, यार समझते ही नहीं है. but what actually really helped me is keeping quiet too. You know, पहले मुझे लगता था कि somehow उनको समझा दूं whatever is going on. It actually helped me to kind of just take care of myself, you know, protect myself. क्योंकि you know, I think I confuse the other person. So I will use a day-to-day example. जैसे कोई दो बंदों में argument, उसने ये कह दिया. I think there is no end to it, you know. कि तब ये incident, there is no end to going in the past. It doesn't matter कौन right है, कौन wrong है. I know that, but I tried, like before I used to try to kind of, I thought that was my higher path, ki, trying to put sense into them, and not even in a way pushing them, but I thought that's how my ego was kind of tricking me. That's what I meant कि ego has many phases, you know. Again, दूसरे की तो पता नहीं, पर अपनी ही इतने वो turn ले लेती है. एक side से, you know, लगा के higher road ले रही हूँ. But somewhere I had that subtle expectation कि this is the way it should be, you know. जैसे I don't know, एक idol तुम जैसे how you say कि image बना लेते हो, you know, of that circumstance too. So really surrendering in that moment, I realized कि कई बारी चुप रहना ही, just stay चुप, and that things take a turn, which were not idle, which were not very higher conscious level decision, but my part was just to stay quiet and take away my sort of वो जो expectation या जो मुझे बहुत pious लग रही, जो बहुत right लग रही थी, you know, है तो in a way I'm distinguishing right and wrong, right? So that's what I meant, is subtle way में. So that quietness really helped me and truly tested my ego. It showed me my ego, जो मुझे वो subtle form of ego दिखती नहीं थी.
Beautiful.
कि वो मुझे वो pious way में ego लगती थी. So I think that really helped me, and that also showed me कि जैसे मेरे अंदर क्या वो ego बैठी हुई थी, या वो uncomfortable, वो pain जो depth को वो रुका हुआ था. So that's what I wanted to share in my experience. Yeah. And definitely it feels really hard. कई बारी लगता है, but what hit me 2-3 days ago was कि I realized कि मैंने कहा why can't it be just flow? Flow में क्यों नहीं awareness आ सकती? Then it really hit me. मैंने कहा effortless होने के लिए भी ना effort डालनी पड़ेगी.
Absolutely. Totally with you.
You know, effortless होने के लिए भी effort डालनी पड़ेगी.
Yeah.
So,
actually, there is a quote by someone, I'm not remembering, maybe the Clarice Lispector, where she says that I have put a lot of effort to be effortless. You know, absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, you touched upon something which I would like to share, you know, since you have touched upon it. Yes, absolutely. Quietness. Mother has talked a lot about being quiet, peaceful, and mother talks about injecting peace in the body, injecting peace and harmony in the cells of the being. So it has a lot of power, peace and quietness, not to be underestimated at all, especially those people who are on this path. So thank you for touching upon that. And the other thing, you know, that all the images that I have about myself or the others is nothing but the ego. All the images that I have about life going this way and not that way, nothing but the play of ego. So any image that I am sticking to is nothing but the ego. And that's where, you know, when I am trying to find a resolution in a relationship and something is going on in my head again and again, it is not possible that I don't have an image in my head. Because if I do not have an image in my head of the relationship going this way or that way, I will actually be at peace with myself. There must certainly be some image in my head where I want to either protect this way or that way, which is leading up to confusion and conflict कि ये होगा कि नहीं होगा. Once I say the divine knows the best, intelligence knows the best, and I will be guided towards a beautiful way. I don't know what that way is, but it will be a beautiful way. There you are keeping it open. Now the immediate side effect of keeping it open is you get lasting peace. Immediately you have peace in the body and in the mental being. The moment you give up your images about the situation and you say, I don't know what is the best way, and I don't bother about thinking about it, the divine intelligence knows the better way and it is guiding me, taking me towards the better way, which will be empowering for all. Yeah. So something like this, images, yeah, expectations are images only, na? So for example, if I am wanting a certain relationship, expecting a certain relationship to go this way or that way, that is an image in my head, hai na? So absolutely, expectations is image. Yeah. And again and again one has to, dekho, even if we go very logically, imagine that I am wanting a relationship to go this and that way. Okay. Okay, if I ask you, okay, what will you get if you have the relationship in your way? You would say, I will be happy, I will be content. Yeah. If today I tell you that you would not be happy, you would be miserable if the relationship goes in that way that you are demanding, you would actually have second thoughts about that relationship. You would say, भैया मेरे को नहीं चाहिए, मेरे को, मैं तो वो relationship इसलिए चाह रहा था ताकि मुझे शांति और peace मिले. But now you are saying that if relationship goes that way, I would not be happy, I would be miserable. अपने पास ही रखो. So what truly we are demanding from our life is not things going that way or this way. We are actually demanding contentment and happiness in our life. Just look at it. If I am craving to get married and somebody says you will be miserable the moment you get married, I would say nahi karni, because no one wants misery. Misery is not our nature. Yeah. So what I am demanding from my life or those life situations is actually peace and contentment. And the moment I give my stubbornness up to have the situation in this or that particular way, I see that, oh, I am at peace. I'm fine the way I am. So there is a possibility of us walking a sunlit path also, rather than the path of pain and suffering, which is no human being can escape it. We all go through in our life, but it is there for a certain measure of time. Once I have learned my lessons from the path of pain and suffering, once I have taken it enough and straightened myself up, then there is a possibility of a different path which we were to discuss today, which we are discussing today, which is the path of sunlit path, which Mother and Sri Aurobindo say sunlit path, which is a path of collaboration with whatever is beautiful. Collaboration is whatever brings me more towards joy, progress, and beauty. Yeah. But before that happens, as effortless flow of my being, before that happens, we have to undergo lot of suffering and misery. And whenever there is suffering and misery, ego is always involved. Ego is forever involved wherever there is pain, suffering, and misery. And once we have learned our lessons, once we have evolved through our lessons, then slowly we come to a point where we decide, okay, I want to collaborate now. I don't want to be stubborn. The stubbornness that I have shown so far, owing to the fact that I had now experience of enough of suffering, enough of pain, enough of misery. Yeah, Mother herself says that this path of suffering is not inevitable, but somehow human beings, the way we are, we have to go through that little phase of pain and suffering. And once we are ready, gotten more in touch with our true being within ourselves, then follow the path of sunlit guidance. Yeah. Why to thoko our matha on the same wall again and again? And whatever matha we are thoking on the wall again and again, you will see that you just want to say that once I resolve this, I will be happy. Has this ever happened in our life? So many things we have resolved in our lives. So many resolutions have happened in our lives. So many things have been granted in our life. But still, if we want to remain in misery, we will remain in misery. There is no end to desires. There is no end to ego. Ego, why there is no end to ego? Because ego is a mirage. A mirage has not got any end. If for example, you're walking on the road and you see there a little water on the road ahead, that is what a mirage is. It appears that there is water. Would you start fighting against the water? That, oh my God, there is water. Now I want to do something about it. I don't want to go there in the water, because the water is not there. It appears to be. And when it appears to be, it appears very, very real. So when the ego, when we are overwhelmed with the processes of ego, you cannot say it is unreal. It appears absolutely real and very, very important. But the moment there is fire in the house, all the ego games go second hand. They go on the side, and I want to run for my life and save myself. What just happened? So what is important? My own life or the arguments? So that's what we were talking earlier, to give our peace foremost importance, and then to take or follow our actions from that particular space. And many a times it will be impossible, absolutely with you, wherever the spaces where are intensely attached, the spaces where the triggers are very intense for my ego. And those are the places where I have to work. Yes, yes. It appears to be, but is not. Yeah. Yeah. And again, the game is long, the journey is a long journey. That's why we have 80, 90 years in a human life. Half of the life we are just swayed here and there. Half of the life we try to maintain our balance, and half of the life, if we are lucky, lived in our true self. Yeah, expression of our true self. So that's why a human life is like that. But again, not that if that was continuing for a long time, it has to continue the same way. The moment I get aware about a better life to be lived, I can choose that path. I don't have to bang my head on every wall in order to come to the fact that there is a deeper individuality waiting for me, rather than banging my head on every wall to find peace and happiness. So once we take the responsibility of peace and happiness in our hands, once we begin to stand by ourselves in every little challenge, situation, difficulty, does not matter, that I am not going to leave my side, no matter what may happen. I am not leaving my side. Then we see that even those challenging situations, dark situations, become nothing but stepping stones to go towards a deeper individuality, and not live in the surface of the surface consciousness or the ego consciousness, which is misery, which is full of misery. Yeah. So any further reflections, any questions, doubts, anything?
Monica, maybe a little off the topic. Like as you said, the human life is around 18, 19 years for a purpose. Yesterday only there was a very depressing incident happened in my apartment. A very, very famous close friend of all of us, one lady in her late 30s, suddenly collapsed. She was dancing in a get together and suddenly she fell down, and within 5 minutes she was no more. We're still trying to come out of the shock. She has a around 13-year-old kid. Of course, the husband is still mature, but I think sometimes you don't feel like why sudden these kind of things happen in life. And I mean, in the past, I had a feeling like people who are about to go, they get a feeling like they're about to go. But this lady, I don't know that she was just dancing to the last moment, and suddenly she collapsed. Of course, it's a shock because she was a very dear to all the apartment folks. She was very jovial, very energetic. But to your point, like when somebody has a short life, again maybe some other topic some other day, is it more like a destined thing, or it is like the way we understand, like we choose to come to birth because we have a lot of desires to fulfill, or we have a lot of balance karmas? Can't we choose our going time as well? I don't know, is it a human design or?
So Saurabh,
Yeah,
there are so many forces working in manifestation that you cannot just very clearly talk about it. So definitely what appears as accident is actually not an accident. It appears an accident because we don't know the forces that made it happen. And I am not aware. For me, it is sudden.
right.
Yeah. For example, imagine that I am frying something. Okay. Now I'm frying something, and somehow the hot oil, it burns my hand, for it falls on my hand. Now a person who is away from me, to him it will appear like more an accident. एकदम से कैसे हो गया?
True.
But if I am deeply aware, I would be able to trace back the coming of the incident. I can tell you one little anecdote here. I'll be able, if I'm aware enough, I'll be able to see that I was not completely stable. I had thoughts going on in my head, and I was very deeply disturbed by something going on in my head. My emotions were not completely fine. I was deeply disturbed while the time I was frying things. And I was doing more out of fury or hate or something going within my being. And hence I clearly know why that oil fell on my hand, not as a punishment, but as a matter of, because I was not aware, I was lost somewhere else. So this may appear to be an accident to somebody who is far away, because he does not have the whole inner dialogue that is going on in my head. And that is only, I'm just opening up a little window in front of you, that there are so many little forces acting up in our life, that what appears as an accident actually is not really truly an accident. There is something more behind the picture going on.
Got it. Yeah, maybe this is could be a topic for some other day, but it definitely thanks for your input.
Yes. On one sadhak was asking mother, just because you have touched this, he was talking about plane accidents. I've shared it earlier also. So he was asking mother that, mother, why is it that whenever this plane accident happens or something like that happens, some of the people are saved by the grace of the divine and the others are not saved. So mother says, what kind of a question is that? Because you are now saying that some are saved by the divine grace, while others are not saved, as if the divine grace is not working for them. While you do not see that every day, millions of planes are in the atmosphere and not one is falling down. Is that not divine grace?
Very
So
nice.
why to see it only in that particular case, that when things happened wrong, so-called according to you, some of them saved going to the grace, as if the grace is not operational in day-to-day life. We absolutely take grace for granted.
True.
Yeah. So another kind of view towards this situation. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Our day-to-day life comes so easy to us. We take it for so much of granted, that and that's why people have amazing transitions in their being, when they have lost their life and then they have gotten back their life. Whenever you meet those people who have first lost, kind of nearly gotten close to losing their life and then gotten back their life, they have a different appreciation for life than so-called those of us who have just taken it for granted.
ये बहुत ट्रू है. लाइक मेरा फेवरेट एग्जांपल है, पंखे की अहमियत तभी पता लगती है जब बत्ती चली जाती है.
Yeah.
जब चलता रहता तो कोई पूछता भी नहीं, थैंक्स टू पंखा. Nobody says.
Absolutely. Yeah. So actually there were many things that I wanted to also share today, but I won't share just all too much at one instance, although I love to share whatever I read. So maybe in the next session on Saturday, we'll take this up, where I would share the path towards a true individuality. That's what we were talking about today. The path towards a deeper life, a deeper individuality, finding out our true individuality, the path towards that. It's a very uh, clearly indicated path, especially when we look into the words of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. A very clear guidance is available, and it's such kind of a guidance which will appeal to your reason also, which would not, you would not take it okay blindly, that okay, that somebody is saying that and I would just follow it. It appeals to the reason and the intellect also, whatever the path they have shared. So maybe in the next Saturday session. If not anything else, we can continue this journey and take the path towards our true and deeper individuality. Yeah. Yeah. So if there is anything, any last comments, anything. And also again and again, we have to remember, it's so many things are said that we forget. And Kabir has talked a lot on Sumiran, remembrance, remember who you are, remember who you are. Again, referring to the bead experiment, which I shared with you today, that we have to again and again dip ourselves in the remembrance that I am the thread. I am the thread of the awareness holding it all. And this is just a little example, it's not an absolute example. People have shared, masters and mystics have shared again and again on these matters in different ways. So whenever in day-to-day life I have a little awareness, can I again and again take a dip that I am the one who is aware. This is the dip. I am aware, I am aware, I am aware, and kind of anchor myself, root myself in awareness. I am aware. All the movements are on the surface and rest. Who am I? Who am I truly? Without which anything cannot happen. I am the one aware. I am awareness. I am awareness. So one has to actually root oneself back, step back and root oneself again and again there. Again, as we were sharing, longer journey, but it's a beautiful journey, I would say. We learn from our failures, we learn from our mistakes, and if we are actually learning from our mistakes, they cannot be called as truly mistakes. They came with a lesson, they came with a learning for me, so they became a stepping stone towards my progress.
On the point of remembrance, Monica, I think indeed it's a good idea to maybe, I mean, I started taking my notes. So is it okay to share this in the group what we are part of, the WhatsApp group? I mean, this could be my personal notes, but again, it might be helping to others as well.
Yeah. So you are there on the Living Light group, right?
Right.
Yeah, you can share, obviously.
Sure.
Yeah. Great. So if not anything, I think we can kind of provisionally conclude here. Thank you everyone for joining and sharing everything that you shared. Yeah. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, Monica. This
Thank
was a
you.
beautiful session.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.